require in the school. Even as far as the things I've been talking about. Islam. There are multiple versions of Islam, as we now all know. There's Sunnis, people who follow the Sunnah of the Prophet. There actually are at least 4 schools of Sunnis, ranging from liberal ones to more conservative ones, like in Saudi Arabia. Why do we mostly hear about the Saudi Arabian, even what we call the Wahhabi type of school today, and not the other ones? Anyone give me 100 years ago, you'd have heard of the Ottoman Empire and their school of Sunnism, which was the Hanafi school. See, we're going to teach you what these things are. We're not going to say that they're true, so you'll know everything that you need to know about Islam. You'll be able to go in the CIA or the Marine Corps or one of these other, they're looking for culturally sensitive people in these places now, and be able to say, hey, I understand this stuff, and I can relate to people from this part of the world. I assure you, you'll know more than most Muslims know about the history and origins and the way Islam works. When you finish this course, I know, because I've encountered many Muslims, and they may know a lot about ritual things, the way someone who's read catechism might know in Catholicism, but they don't know the history and culture of Islam the way I think I know it. And I have always amazed these people with the fact that I can pull more names out of my head than they can theirs, which is, they don't believe Westerners can do this. Well, you'll have all that information and more. But in any case, Islam is a variegated tapestry. So the Ottoman Empire, the Turks were Hanafis, they were a little more liberal. But what did they lack that the Saudis and others like them have? Oil. Oil. They didn't have oil, and the prices are going up every day still. Huge amount of capital is flowing into those coffers. And with that capital, huge outlays are being made, either to pacify or to help or whatever, a religious orientation of a given kind. And that's what the U.S. government is coping with and is unable to cope with, because the U.S. government is compromised in this regard. And this is a political statement, I'll tell you beforehand, because people like the Bushes have been on the take, if you like, in this area for several generations now, and they have a very difficult time being even-handed on this given subject. And I would not like to look at Papa Bush and Grandpapa Bush's bank account. I would not like to see what's in it. Or, for instance, Mr. Baker. I wouldn't like to see Mr. Baker, because, you know, these people have a corporation. It's called the, what's the name of this corporation? It's called the, oh my God, something, Carlyle Foundation. How many have heard of the Carlyle Foundation? Well, they're the directors of it. Baker and others. James Carlucci and some others in the government. And they invest huge amounts of money. That's what they do. They invest huge amounts of oil money for a lot of these people. Now, I may be wrong there. Don't quote me 100%. I don't want people to say, oh, you said it wrong. But that's what the word is concerning the Carlyle Foundation. And I am one who probably tends to credit it. Though I'm not going to, you want to do further research on that, you can. But so they don't have, see, they're caught in a bind. They can't be too critical of the Arabian Peninsula because they've been benefiting mightily for over 40 years in this situation, financially and otherwise. On the other hand, a lot of this capital is flowing into supporting groups that have an orientation that is actually quite hardline. And many of the mosques that have been built are built as a result of financing from these organizations. Even in this country, certainly in London, and of course Pakistan is almost a colony of Saudi Arabia now. It's a financially bankrupt place, Pakistan, and is more or less owned by these interests that have this kind of capital to project. And I think that's an innocent statement. I don't have to go any further than that. I've said enough on that score. That's why you only hear about one form of Islam in the modern world these days. But there's many forms. You see, we now know there's Shiism. And there's several forms of Shiism. There's 7 Imam Shiism. There's 12 Imam Shiism. There's Ismaili Shiism. There's Zaydism. There are Druze. There are Baha'i. These are all offshoots of Shiism. And most of us didn't even know what Shiism was before 10 years ago or 15 with the Persian crisis. And so there's at least 4 different schools of Sunnism, there's Shiism, and there's Sufism, Islamic mysticism. An area that most, well, Wahhabi-minded Muslims don't even want to entertain exists. And yet it used to be a dominant force all over the Islamic world. So now we know that Islam is not really just a single voice, it's a variegated collage. So even if we were to saying what upsets you, we're not even sure if the thing is upsetting you would upset someone else from a different background. I can always tell when a person is from a Shiite background by the questions they ask. I can tell when a person is from a more Wahhabi background. I mean, just by the question they ask. You say, oh, how can you do that? I can often even tell what country a person comes from just by their name. Or I can get very, very close. When I call the roll, I'll try to do that. But I won't do it, call the roll today because we've got too many new people in here. So this is what we'll try to do. We're going to stick to the classical prayer. We're going to try to tell you what every Muslim knows. We're going to try to tell you what you will find useful should you go into business, should you go into the army or the other military services. I'm talking about America. I assume you're going to live in America. I mean, I'm not talking about this is going to help you if you're from another country and you're going to go into Al-Qaeda or something. I can't vouch for that one, you know. I assume that you're here because you love America, you want to be here, you want to study at an American university, even if you're not a citizen, that you wouldn't come to America to study if you didn't want to study in America. So I'm talking about American things. So if you were to go into business, the military, the State Department, government, they could use this course, believe me. I heard the Commandant of the U.S. Marines speaking on C-SPAN the other night. And he said, we're going to put all our money into education. And someone said, well, you're going to educate recruits to be culturally sensitive, and then they're only going to stay in 4 years. Aren't you going to save this for higher up? And I says, well, is that financially wise? And he said, well, you know, there'll be better American citizens because of it, too. He was really very enlightened. He was from Camp Pendleton. He's now the Commandant of the Marine Corps. He was very impressive. And I felt like telling him, hey, we got just the course for you. I can tell your recruits everything they need to know about Islam in order to go into these places and feel comfortable, and people feel comfortable with you. Because you know what people want to know? That you know who Muhammad is. That you know what the Sunnah are. That you know who Omar is. That you know who Uthman is. That you know what the Umayyad Caliphate was. That you know what the Abbasid Caliphate was. That you know